Peace, peace, peace. Welcome to another episode of Wazadome TV. Today, obviously, I have a very special guest, my friend and brother, who, man, he just does so much from his history of hip hop journalism to the books that he authors to the rhymes that you hear on his albums. Um, Somebody who is very important to the culture and somebody who has and don't let me forget, with the longest standing class at a law school in Mecca, which is, in my opinion, man, that's those out of those accomplishments, that's at the top of the list, just because of what the culture has meant to so many people. Sunez Allah, thank you, my brother, for coming through.
Peace, God, man. It's an honor to be back again, man. I love building with you, man.
Yeah, likewise, man. It's always
Library look pretty right there.
I appreciate you, man. You know what I'm saying? And so first, before we get into a few things, I definitely want to let everybody know the link is in the description, and we're going to definitely talk about it. And the book, The Zen of Us, The Art of War, from Sun Tzu to Sunez, is out. And also The Zen of Us, the album, which is fire, is out. And I don't want to like minimize this book, because this book is like, whenever you see that title, The Zen of Us, Art of War, from Sun Tzu to Sunez, I'm not going to get that, because especially if you have an appreciation for philosophy, martial arts, the 5%, and things of that nature, man, it's amazing. So definitely get that. And links are in the description. But before we get into that, there's a few things in hip hop that I I have to ask my brother. One, it's turned into a meme now, and it seems like it's nothing but jokes about it. And I'm not sure how I even felt about it either, but breaking in the Olympics.
Oh man, I knew you was gonna ask that.
Yeah, I had to, God. What
Um,
what are your thoughts on it, man? Because I know some of the brothers and sisters that were there were doing their thing, but there was also like, yo,
let,
what
let,
is
let me
this?
let me start it off by the bias that I had watching it.
Okay, okay.
It's a little different than most people because I've been in this hip hop officially for 30 years. This is
Yeah.
30 years, 1994. I
Hmm.
started like doing something in hip hop. And my daughter just graduated from CIA, but not that CIA,
Yeah,
Color
yeah, yeah, yeah.
America. Um, and I released the album and the book. So I'm happy, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm saying I'm
Yeah. I'm
happy.
not I'm not trying to mess up your zen, God.
Yeah, that messes up. My negativity towards it would be less. So,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
I'll say this though, right? And when I watch the Olympics now that I'm older, and honestly, I keep it real. I don't have parents anymore. So like when I watch the Olympics, I just feel happy that young people do something that their parents could see.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like
yeah.
part of me is just watching it emotionally, like just seeing like, yo, you
Right.
do something great. And because I did hip hop. And when I did stuff great, I couldn't even show it to my parents because they wouldn't understand what I just did. You know what I'm
Right, right,
saying?
right, right.
And it would be like, whatever, you know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's not like you're gonna show them like a graffiti writer goes, "Oh, look, ma, I did this whole train right here." Like
Yeah,
you can't
yeah.
really, So it was the same thing with me when I was writing in magazines. It was just like that's lesser stuff.
Hmm.
But, I'll say this about the Olympics, right, and the whole thing, the breaking.
Hmm.
I start back with the history. These are some truths of the history. A history evolved over time because the dancing was a combination of many dances put together and reinterpreted.
Mm.
The very beginning of hip hop, they're still doing the same dances, hustle, other things. They're still doing those same dances. One of those main dances that's being done is the precursor, rocking,
Mm.
right? Which Boricuas, Puerto Ricans have a major root in creating. Like
Hmm.
we have real creators that made rocking, and many argue that it was Puerto Ricans themselves that made up rocking. That's why all the crews are called rockers and all that.
Hmm.
So I'm just putting that out there for another
Yeah,
debate,
yeah.
right? For that other debate. But it's crucial here because by the late 70s into the early 80s, 78, 79, 80, around that time, hip hop in general was already falling off.
Mm-hmm.
People weren't doing it though. People don't realize how much Wild Style, the movie, revives the whole thing.
Mm.
People don't realize that it was the actual breakers that were mainly Boricua, led
Mm-hmm.
by Rocksteady crew, Crazy Legs and all of them. Because I say
Mm-hmm.
Crazy Legs because he's the ambassador, really articulating the history the best.
Yes.
They were the ones that, by taking breaking worldwide, they made all the elements vibrant.
Mm.
So there's a strong argument that they kept hip hop going. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Made it viable, like a thing for us to do. You know what I'm saying? And so breaking going global already happened. God, like it
Yeah.
already happened,
Right.
and it already sustained. And then what people don't know about hip hop is that over the years, especially when you get into the 90s, the entire 90s decade, crews like Rocksteady, and then there's many others of not just breaking, because by then, Rocksteady crew, for example, is not just a breaking crew. They're embracing all levels of hip hop. And then there's a lot of hip hoppers that do everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're multi-element.
Mm-hmm.
They're going out there to the world and sharing how hip hop works. So,
Hmm.
for example, like the famous Black August series concerts,
Mm-hmm.
that started in August, obviously, and they had like Dead Prez, Common, Aguilar was there. I remember Fat Joe was there. Um, Everybody was there. I know because I was at the first one.
Mm.
At the
Mm-hmm.
first one. Dead Prez was there. They were just debuting songs
Right.
on Let's Get Free. So they were educating other countries like Cuba, others how to do it. That's why I argue sometimes that some countries are badly educated or didn't get enough, like Puerto Rico, and then they went into reggaeton because it's easier to make a reggaeton song.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
talk about hoes and parties, one beat. It's so much easier than the difficulty of sampling and all that and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
story because hip hop was there too. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw the breaking in the Olympics, all I worried about was the way that it would be judged.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that they would break it down, and they broke it down with the vocabulary. I forget the other elements, but mainly, you got to have your freezes, power moves, up rocking, down rocking, right? And that's why when people saw it, they think they know what they're talking about. But when you see like some of the Japanese who are super athletic and they lose, it's because they only do like windmills and crazy down rocking. They
Right.
don't do any top rocking at all.
Right.
Some countries had great down rocking, but they were offbeat on the top rock,
Mm.
or
Mm-hmm.
they were not in tune with the song.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I had a problem with it. It's a shame that the Australian, whatever lady that was,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say her name though, but
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
some people complain, like they'll go, "Why are you making fun of her? She made the Olympics." I make an exception to that shit.
Mm.
I make an exception because if she was doing that stuff in the Bronx, she'd have been
Right.
laughed off the stage immediately and dragged off
Right.
out of disrespect and everything. So I want to see every meme making fun of that.
Yeah.
Proud of me. Yeah, I'm there for everything. My favorite was with the Seinfeld music. You know what I mean? On
Right.
that. But the problem is that some people deal with memes only, and they thought that that was what the breaking contest was. It
Mm.
actually had a lot of skill. And
Mm-hmm.
what do you expect? Like, what was missing from breaking from other countries was the funkiness,
Mm-hmm.
the ability to be on beat.
Mm.
Um, a lot of let's keep it real, a lot of the Europeans, like my brother told me, they were just doing contortionisms on the floor.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Just pretzeling themselves in no real artistic groove.
Right.
It looked different, but it's like Paul Pierce playing basketball. I really don't want to see it though. You know what I mean? I want to Hall of Fame, but I don't really want to watch that. I don't want to see that at all. It's funky,
Yeah.
all of that. So I had no problem with the breaking. My only argument with the judges is that I thought the best dancer, and I'm biased, the best dancers were the American b-boys. The Mexican brother
Mm-hmm.
that won bronze had all the traits of what a b-boy does. Like, and his father was a b-boy.
Mm, right. Right.
He
Mm-hmm.
had it the way I would see it when I was a kid.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And the way I was doing it as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was saying, like, and the Jeffro, the one that lost too, I thought he got robbed because I think the judges didn't properly give him the respect for the funk that he brought to top rocking.
Right.
and
Right.
his storytelling was crazy in the thing. He was the best dancer to me out of the whole competition, women and men. You know what I mean? But
Hmm.
he didn't win. So, but that's judges. That's how judge works goes. You
Right.
know, it don't always work that way. But the people that won had talent.
Hmm.
I'm not mad about it. And we do culture for everybody, right? We go knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. What you know, how you use it, and then the insight that you have from it is all mental. But once you live out the understanding, it's to the world. I wrote a
Right.
book and people can misinterpret it. You know what I'm saying? But it's out in the world.
Right.
It's too late. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
I could try to explain it and stuff, but it's too late. I feel that way with all culture, and I'm happy that they do culture because for me, right, I was never a great b-boy, but I was from Puerto Rican neighborhood, so to see Puerto Ricans doing b-boy, and it was like, wow, this is something that we made. And then I would meet relatives that were like really originals,
Hmm.
and I was like, wow, this is our thing. We have something that's ours. When I go to school and they tell us that we didn't do anything,
Right. Right.
so it was a big deal. So it was really nice to see something that you helped create or and that you're part of because I'm part of hip hop you know, in a world stage where people respected the athleticism of it. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So
Hmm.
in general, I was okay with it. I think it's possible that that terrible dancer
Yeah.
bird going onward
Yeah.
into LA, which is a shame. You know what I'm saying? But I had no problems with it, man.
I think you kind of mentioned some great things as especially with I'm not even sure that not just the judges, but as you mentioned, like, the funkiness to it, the rhythm, the up rock, the down rocks. I don't even think a lot
Yeah,
of people even kind of understand the
yeah,
science of what
yeah.
goes into
Like
b-boying.
for example, I thought the Chinese brother, I forgot his name that was in there, was very talented. He really worked to be on beat and
Hmm.
was,
Hmm.
but he didn't have the funk.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna say that's a black thing, that's a this thing because I've seen Chinese people with the funk.
Right, right, right,
But I'm
right.
saying though, in this art form, it takes a while to get it though, and they didn't have it though.
Hmm.
But if you want to get it easy, compare the European b-boys to the American b-boys, and you see it immediately. You see
Yeah.
the difference immediately. And then the announcers would go, "Well, he's doing a more traditional." And I'm saying,
No, he's
"Nah,
doing
he's
it
doing it
right.
correct.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, he's doing it right.
he's doing it correctly."
Right,
Yo, there
right.
was something that those European b-boys do, and I was like, "Yo, did he get hurt?" And the white girl from Australia, that was embarrassing. It looked like she was on playing Twister by
Yeah,
herself. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
that
And
shit
they
was
said
crazy.
she had a PhD in breaking. And I'm like, where do you even get that from?
Yeah. You know what's interesting? She kind of ruined the whole country too because the Australian b-boy was a Filipino that was
Mm,
adopted as a young
mm,
boy.
hmm.
So he represented Australia and he was nice with it.
Right, right, right,
Very talented. You know
right.
what I'm saying? So it was all around that was more of an aberration,
Yeah.
an anomaly than what you saw.
And it's sad though, because that's the only clip that I see get
Right. Yeah.
shared. That's the
The
only
only
one.
clip.
That's the only one.
It's the
Um,
only one, man.
the next thing I wanted to ask you before we get into the new book and the new album, which everybody go cop that, is we're going into election season. I often think about, like there's always a like especially with mainstream media, even with certain hip hop artists, whenever they were doing the vote or die thing, and
Right.
yeah, yeah, but it's like this,
Thanks, Diddy.
right, yeah, right, and it's vote, 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 and I'm not saying that voting can't be used as a tool. I wouldn't say that on my platform, but I often during this election, well, all elections really, I kind of think about how Allah, the founder of the 5%, how he was not a politician, and I don't really know of anything on record where of
Yeah.
him telling people, "Hey, vote, vote, vote," but he still had power
Right.
within politics
Yeah.
locally.
Yeah.
And if you can, for the people that don't know some of that, can you just build on that a little bit?
Yeah, the father, when he was known as Clarence Smith, he had served in the Korean War and was extremely decorated.
Hmm.
I didn't see those medals until like 2 or 3 years ago when they renamed the street
Hmm.
that School of Mecca is on 5% of Square. And I had seen the medals. God, it was like 8 or 9 medals.
Wow.
like he was a super soldier.
Right,
You know
right,
what I mean?
right, right,
Yeah, he
right.
was Captain America, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so that's really his most official work for America. You know,
Mhm,
if we say it or leave it at that, he didn't really do anything else. He didn't even officially do much with the Nation of Islam. You know
mhm,
what I'm saying? He wasn't selling the bean pies. He was out in the street when he should have been in the temple. He was doing what he does with the youth. But his capture of the youth, people don't understand that he had more youth. The amount of youth that Allah the Father had dwarfed any of the Black Power movements that we know today. Black Panthers, Young Lords, Mau Mau, any of them, he dwarfed them because when I became 5%er, our Seagung Bobby Whitaker would train us at Mount Morris Park, where the
mhm,
first of its monthly gatherings of the gods and earths were when the Allah was alive. And that's a huge space, guy.
mm.
And it's huge. And we would be training all day. We'd have all the space we wanted. It's a gigantic space. And it's way up there in Marcus Garvey Park. Because you got to go in Marcus Garvey Park on 125th and then walk up a lot of staircases to get there. And he was filling that whole thing up, the whole thing. So we were talking about maybe
Wow.
200, 300 people he
Right,
was gathering
right,
that were 5%ers.
right.
So it was on an incredible level. And he had the power to do things, but it wasn't on a militant regard. It was on a revolutionary tip. He
Mhm,
was trying to get them to set themselves up to be families. You know
mm.
what I mean? Programs for the youth. The school that we have is from the mayor. You know what I mean? Bus trips. Um, the program that allowed the Harlem Prep program that allowed high schoolers that couldn't finish their degrees to get to college. So, and a lot of the elders that taught me,
Mm.
Alim, Umala, Dumar Wadi, right? They all went through that program. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? And some of them got PhDs eventually.
Wow. Wow.
You know, I know Umala,
Hmm.
not PhDs, a master's.
Hmm.
So Umala had a master's. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Right.
So that was the father's activism was very communal, you
Yeah.
know, building up the community, making families. So he sounded it's a lot like a lot like Booker T. Washington.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
You know, you hear the
Hmm.
speeches and they sound conforming,
And you're like,
but
but
he got everybody. So
right.
like there was the older guys used to always tell me this though. They used to always tell me that there was a meeting and the mayor was there and a lot of other public figures, community members, community councilmen, and some police, like the chief of police of and one of the heads of police in the Bronx. And the father was actually there. So that's how far he went.
Wow. Wow.
And they asked him, they told him in the meeting, you better not bring that stuff up in the Bronx.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And he just said, yeah, yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter because
Yeah.
he already
Yeah. You already did.
they're
Yeah.
already in there.
Yeah. They already
They're
done
already in there,
it.
body. There's already
Yeah.
hundreds of officers in Elon. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. Right.
It don't matter. It don't
Right.
matter what you tell them to do. It's already done. Once he taught the youth, they're gonna do what they want to do.
Right.
You know? And what people forget how revolutionary is because he was telling people not to carry weapons.
Hmm.
Had their flags on, and if they was gonna do something, a lot of the early gods was boosters.
Mm. Right. Right. Right.
You know, that's how they survived. And so they take off the flag to do their thing, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because they were still transitioning. They were real roughnecks, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so he was dealing with the toughest kids in the street. And that's how he was able to get the numbers because no one cared about them.
Mm.
But he did though, you know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? He
Right.
did. So that's really what his revolution was. And so voting was a thing. He didn't really comment. I never heard him comment about that. And 5%ers, no elder ever told me not to vote.
Right. Right. Right.
They might have told me the significance or how it might not be useful as I think it is.
Hmm.
But they didn't tell me not to do it. They was like engaged in everything. So like I tell students like, yo, if you never voted, go inside there and see what it looks like to just check it off so you know what it is.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
I probably voted twice in my life.
Yeah. Same here.
Just to see how it looks though and
Mm.
everything. But I didn't have any kind of resolve about it. But the minute I got knowledge of self, all the radicalism and revolutionary mentality I had was funneled into a very communal aspect.
Hmm.
So I don't worry about like some vote ruining the way I'm going to live though, because I feel like it's going to be made already.
Mm.
I think I have the power of I go out in the street and teach the youth.
Hmm.
activate it myself and stuff. You know what I mean? And if
Yeah.
I see like measures and stuff that are important, then. But you know, during this time of year, voting is always overrated, and the reason is because for the vast majority of people, they don't know how to do community service. Though
Yeah.
it's not that they don't want to. Sometimes they don't know how to schedule that in, and we're
Mhm.
dealing with a country that they can't even schedule a workout in.
Right. Right.
They don't know how to schedule good eating and then a cheat meal.
Right.
They know how to do the cheat meal, but then they'll do it 1 day, 2 day, 3 days a week.
Yeah.
And so people can't even figure out their lives, and then you're going to ask them to do stuff. And then in this day and time, people with a respectable job, if they have a family, both husband and wife, father and mother have to go work.
Mhm.
Where's the time for them to do activism?
Right. Right.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so it's only left to the youth.
Hmm.
Then they grow up and have families, and they're taken out of the revolutionary framework. They're taking off those numbers.
Right.
So
Which
they,
is which is designed to be that way purposefully, and I would say,
Mhm.
for the people to have their times occupied so much that they don't have anything left for themselves. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. Like there's so much not just revolution. I think if people look back on my works, my whole life career, they'll see it as revolutionary.
Hmm.
But I had to do a daily rebellion every single day.
Mm,
To it.
mm,
You know what I'm saying?
hmm.
And and look as rebellious as possible. Like I don't care about rules. I don't care about um conformity, all of these things, and just really causing trouble.
Right.
So
Right.
in my daily life, though, looks totally different than the larger scheme of my life because that's the way society is built.
Hmm.
You know, right? Every decision I make is like, oh well, you're not conforming. That's not good for your children. That's not good for this. That's not good for that. You know, everything. From
Right.
my diet onward. So it takes people out. So now that they could vote, now the presidential vote seems like a lesser of two evils for real.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And,
Right.
and
Right.
it's only because two things I think. It's we know the devilishment of Trump is going to continue. And even if you're smart and you're going with Trump, though, you're not really thinking. If if you're looking when you look at Trump, even if he had all the right policies, though, he would be the most bumbling fool, though, to do
Hmm.
it. Though.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So like
Hmm.
his ego wouldn't let him do the right policies he even says. And then on the other side, now it's Harris now,
Hmm.
not Biden. So you're like, oh, okay, so she's not going to do what? Not do what?
Right.
Because out of all the parties, I keep telling people that the Democratic Party is really the more muscular party now.
Mm.
They're the blue dog Democrats of the Clinton era that started workfare and pushed people in the streets. I know because when I was in college, though, I was sweeping the streets.
They are the tough
Yeah,
on crime.
they're the ones that did the
Yeah.
crime bill and all that.
Yeah,
They're the
man.
ones that first frisked me. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
In the 90s when I was in college. So the party is so strong they could kick out a candidate and nobody really says anything like Bernie.
Hmm.
They do anything that they want and it looks all good. They could hide their emails, they could hide their laptops like Biden, they could do anything that they want,
Right.
and they could support neoliberalism,
Yeah.
the concept that
Yeah.
people don't
And
understand,
call it radical.
right, and say this is next level here.
Hmm.
So now it's none of that is attached to Harris. So it's like you really believe that she's stronger than the party that she's.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So she's Luke Skywalker, a female Luke Skywalker, and she
Right.
could go against her father and the emperor
Right.
and all of that kind of stuff, and not continue the killing in Israel. You know what I mean? Never start, not restart another mandatory vaccine campaign. You know what I mean? Where people will lose their jobs, they don't do what you feel like doing. You know,
Hmm. Hmm. Yep.
she has no power for that.
No.
She has shown none of that in her career. You know what I'm saying? And like it's very thin. It's very
Yeah.
thin. There's not much there. There's no even with Obama, you had really great talking points.
Hmm.
I don't have any talking points.
No.
Just have and a lot of the fear is because they hope that with a woman in office, that a lot of the Roe versus Wade will be reinstated though.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't have confidence in any of that though.
No, no, me either. And
For me,
and it's funny you say that because I have this conversation often. Like and I'm not saying that these people are, because I don't believe them to be, but let's say these were some of the most well-intentioned people before, but once you align yourself with the party and you are able to maneuver through your party to get to its highest level of, politician, which is the president of the United States. You don't like you're not really, you are a part of them now. You know what I mean? You might
Yeah, I
have
mean,
started off well
yeah, I
intentioned,
mean,
but
logically, then we're not supposed to be putting so much emphasis on this presidential vote. You know what I mean?
hmm
If you say like, if somebody votes and they go, "I'm gonna vote for Kamala for imagery," and at least I won't hear racist stuff, I could go with that.
hmm
Go with that. You know what I'm saying? But if you're actually gonna argue policy with me, man,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
like
yeah. If
Kamala
yeah.
going in there and saving reproduction rights and stuff,
Mhm.
which really the way that they're doing reproduction rights and taking them away is the path to transhumanism that the vaccine mandate
Mm.
have. If we control your health, we control how you live, and we can control and we get more things more digital, we control everything. And these are things that already exist in other countries. So to think that the Democratic Party, that's not what they want, though, you're fooling yourself. You know what I mean? To
Absolutely.
think that she's that potent to stop that, man, it's crazy. It's ridiculous to think that, But that's what's happened. It's so easy to manipulate the populace, though. It's
Man,
mind blowing
hard
how
to be led
easy
in the
it
wrong.
is, though.
Man, it's so
You
hard to
know?
be led in the
Like
right
if
direction,
she
my
goes
brother.
out there and if
Mhm.
she goes, because Kamala cares, because don't nobody else care, she'll trend. People has to say that.
Yeah.
Like
Look,
do
bro,
a
look,
and
God,
shit. Like,
God, it shit from the time with the hot sauce in the purse to Bill Clinton playing the saxophone on Arsenio.
yeah, man, this
Like,
shit
it's like,
crazy.
man, it don't take much.
Yeah,
It don't take much, God.
people still like there. I meet a lot of elders. They not 5%
Mhm.
that will tell me like, yeah, Barack Obama was, Bill Clinton is black.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I've heard that. The first black president, right? That's what they
I don't. They still with that.
but
I'll take no part in it. I'll take
yeah,
no part in
understood, God, understood. So on a better note, um, man, you've dropped two extremely dope pieces of work, a book and an album. And before we even dive into the contents,
it.
um, the only I'm not I'm pretty sure there's some that I'm missing,
Yeah.
but the only other person that I know that does that is like Killer Priest. Like he did that one time where he dropped a book, but it's like his lyrics. But this is
Right, man.
this is you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah,
the
same
idea,
thing. Yeah.
but the idea of book, a really written out book and album companion. Not sure I've really seen that on
Yeah,
this.
no,
Um,
I researched it out. I know
yeah,
what goes on. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So
yeah.
first off, talk about that idea and
Right, right. Yeah, yeah.
and why you wanted to do it that way.
Like I said, like you don't know that something is overwhelming because you tackle it. But when I was young, I got knowledge of self, and everything else was so overwhelming. Like I had been vegan for years, so that was crazy revolutionary in my household, community, everywhere. Like I had to explain what the word vegan means
hmm
in the mid '90s. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, hmm
and and I was radicalized. You know what I'm saying? I was about Puerto Rican independence. Obviously, I still am, but like
yeah,
that was what it was about for me. And that's so when family saw me with the flag, the Puerto Rican flag, they knew it was different than the way they held it. You know what I
hmm
mean?
hmm
And when I got knowledge of self, I'm thrust for me, God, right? I come out of a world where a college world in a poverty level where I'm like, I actually met the first professor I met that became my mentor was Puerto Rican.
hmm
I meet get the knowledge of self, and it takes me to another level where I'm like, yo, man, everybody here is a scholar. So I remember like I used to be
right,
with Stephen Knowledge who used to sell books, right?
hmm
He's out in Seattle. He read every single book, God. He read the entire Sertima collection.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
He read
yeah.
everything that he was selling, he read. And I was like, yo, some of the scholars I meet, they haven't read everything that they was quoting, referencing, you know what I mean?
Absolutely right.
And I was like, yo, I'm engaged with all these scholars, Infinite Al-Jamar, Dumar Wadi. It was day to day, my enlightened knowledge me. I was like, this is very overwhelming. Then while I'm getting the knowledge, one day we're cleaning the basement, lifting bags, and one of the gods that I'm with, Knowledge Peace, he goes, "Yo, God, you're in shape. You should do some kung fu with us." And I always laugh because I said to him, "I don't know about that kicking shit." I told him, I told him, I don't know about that, you know. But then I thought about it and I said, "Yo, I'm gonna go with them because I carry a knife with me.
Mhm.
Who knows? Maybe I'll learn how to use it right way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
got a
yeah.
baby on the way, so I was like,
Mhm.
let's do it." And my Seagung Bobby Whitaker, who isn't part of the 5% Nation, but an honorary member, is a black man. He's a
Mhm.
black man, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? And he taught us all his gods of that era. He taught us. And so I'm teaching at a law school starting in 2000. At the end of 2000, I start martial arts, and it's very overwhelming. I'm learning all these things.
Mhm.
During the years, that's when I write the major essays in the Peace Corps book, Kai to Perfection, Blackest Pedagogy. But then I'm my Seagung is teaching me how to fight, but I'm like, I want to read the ancient texts too.
Yeah.
Start reading everything. Like I'm reading everything, all the ancient texts, every translation I could find of the Tao Te Ching, the art,
Mm.
everything.
Mhm.
And I realized that in Thomas Cleary's translation, he actually his is longer. And I was like, why is it longer? This book is mad big now. And
Yeah.
it had commentaries of generals and warriors throughout
Mm.
the years um for each aphorism from Sun Tzu.
Mhm.
So I said, yo, man, we're the gods, man. Yo, what if I throw my own commentary on each one?
Mm.
Now, by then, though, a lot of the next level stuff I was doing in hip hop
Mhm.
was not being accepted. So
Mhm.
I have a folder of publishers that refused my work,
Wow.
magazines that refused the ideas of me saying that journalism is a new element of hip hop.
Mhm.
You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? If it's creative, right? So I was like, man, if I write it, I'm just gonna keep it. So
Mhm.
I wrote it, and I was with the God Day Son. That's the first God that I ever knew.
Mhm.
He brought me to a law school, and we're writers, we're hip hop writers. So we always had this thing where we would write for posterity.
Mm.
Like we was broke. So we're
Mhm.
like, we're not gonna be accepted now, but posterity will be appreciated.
Right.
I'm reading the ancient text, and I was reading hundreds of them, God,
Mhm.
and I'm training.
Mm.
Yeah, see, like during the beginning of my training, we did everything in the ancient Chinese way. We had tea. We was drinking tea all day.
Mm.
Baji Chu, Sha Wu Shi, Tiger Bone.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
And not
yeah.
the alcoholic Tiger Bone
Yeah, that Nori and them
that
was
story guy. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's why they get messed up so fast because when it's distilled, like to really filter out the good enzymes and the roots,
Mhm.
it's real alcoholic. You know what I
Mm.
mean? It's real alcoholic. But who's doing all that? If you saw me back then, I'd either be wearing a suit or I'd be wearing a gi, a kung
Mm.
fu button gi.
Yeah, yeah,
We was
yeah.
in the streets like that. Yo, we was
Mhm.
on 125th. We'd be walking with whips, spears, swords, all of that kind of stuff.
Mm.
Out in view.
Mm.
Walk with it. You know
Wow.
what I mean?
Wow, wow.
We was on that. Like we was like Shaw
Yeah.
Brothers movies, walking
Yeah.
from destination.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
Yeah,
we had everything though.
yeah.
So we was really living that culture along with the knowledge. And so I was like, yo, I'm gonna write these commentaries, but I don't think anybody's gonna appreciate them. I'm gonna just hold it for me. And there was one month where I was by myself, right? My daughter's mother at the time took a trip with my oldest daughter to the Dominican Republic, and I was there for a month.
Mhm.
So I took everything out of this big room I had,
Mhm.
everything, all the furniture, everything,
Mhm.
wheeled in a computer and wheeled it out.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna write this book in the time that they're out.
Wow.
Only going to train, eat, sleep, use the bathroom, and that's it.
Wow.
So I would have a set amount of there's 13 chapters. I had set amounts when I would do it. Like the on the art of the on the art of spies chapter, on the use of spies chapter was the longest. So that was like a 2-day thing for me.
Mhm.
Well, I would give it like extra days. But if I didn't reach my goal, I didn't allow myself to sleep in my bed. I slept on the
Ooh.
floor. I slept
Oh.
right on the floor there. And it was not summer, it was like March.
Wow.
Right on the floor. And I would train
Mm-hmm.
the energy and the vibe, and
Mm-hmm.
try to write the way I moved.
Mm.
And I tried to write the way I moved, you know, and it became a thing. That's why like people read my writing. I try to write most of my writing. It's like the way I move
Mm-hmm.
or the way that soul music sounds.
Yes,
It's really soul music.
absolutely.
It's not hip hop. I try to write like that, the way Donny Hathaway sings,
Mm. You
because I
know, for
can't sing like that.
yeah, because first time I, became familiar with your writing, I was like, yo, this is different. There's a rhythm to this
Yeah,
writing.
yeah. You know, and that's how I got it though. I try to put those sentiments in it, and that's how the book was written. The originals, that Art of War book I had, was all written over. I changed everything, renamed the chapter titles, put it in the order I thought was supreme mathematics. You know what I mean?
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And I left it there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I could do anything now. This is my magnum opus
Mm-hmm.
to write anything. And that really is why writing became so much easier for me. So when people learn of me, that's why it's so easy for me to write,
Mm-hmm.
because I put everything out there. Like if that was the only thing I could ever write, I put it in there. That's
Yeah,
why
yeah.
it's such an important book that I never published it. And then it's funny because right after that, the funny thing I told you was when you broke, you write the best shit. I
Yeah.
was unemployed and shit.
Mm-hmm.
I had no money. I had nothing. It was really like I was done, and I wrote that book. Right after that, the God Day son, who was in the source, becomes editor in chief, and he's like, "Come on, God."
Ah, that's
You
so
know what I'm
fire.
saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
This is and I love the God for that. You know what I'm saying? And so I just kept the book. I didn't do anything. I changed some of it. I fixed it,
Mm-hmm.
but 95% of it though was done already. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I just held it there. And then when I started to publish books, I was like, yo, man, I got to get this Zen of Us out.
Right.
I didn't even tell people the title because I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to get bitten because it's my
Yeah.
name backwards. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want people to bite it, or even the idea of writing their commentaries to the art of war.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Even books that do their own art of business, art of this, they're not using the passages of the art of war.
Right,
You
right,
know what I
right,
mean?
right,
The Tao of Pooh doesn't use the Tao Te Ching. You know what I
right,
mean?
right, right, right.
So it's totally different. So then fast forward to 2023, and I'm doing albums. King Kamal finally throws me in the booth, and I'm finally doing albums with him. And it's crazy because King Kamal keeps telling me, "Yo, guy, you got to do a solo album," and I was like, "Damn, I don't know." So
Mm-hmm.
while he's just collecting random songs for the third album,
Mm-hmm.
he wants me to do a solo album.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why some of the songs on Burnt Silk and Blessed Beads, they sound like my solo album, like Remembered Imperfection.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, because that song I did a couple of days after my father returned to the Essence.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Right, right.
So it had that passion, and a lot of the Zen of Us is written during that time, like the title cut. So there's a lot of emotion, a lot of a lot of anguish that's in the verses, and I just would write songs. And one day, King sends me like he sends me 8 beats from
Mm-hmm.
Serious Beats, and he goes, "God, this is your solo album." And I listen,
Ah.
yo, how did he know that these beats are so good
Right, right,
for
right.
me? For
Yeah,
me,
yeah, yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? They
Peace to
have
the
like
God King Kamal, man.
yeah, they have the passion, the soul. They
Mm-hmm.
got the driving stuff. They have the pockets that I can do, right? That
Right,
I can
right.
do, right? And he just tells me, and I'm thinking like, yo, this book, Zen of Us, means so much to me. I
Mm-hmm.
think the best way to present myself to the world is make a score, a soundtrack for it.
Yeah.
Came out because one of the first poems I had written was was like a poem rap song. I didn't know what it was.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a recreation or a reprise to RZA's Sun Shower. That's the last song on Wu-Tang Forever.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's my favorite album, though.
Mm-hmm.
That became my score when I was getting Knowledge of Self. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yo, the way RZA talked about drop knowledge, the way he talked about like high school days and experiences, I'm gonna do the same thing, but my experiences will be when I was first training with the gods, you know? So,
Mm-hmm.
like everything that's in that song really happened.
Right.
We was really taking flags from people that was selling them on the corner that
Mm-hmm.
wasn't from us.
Mm-hmm.
We was walking around with kung fu weapons. I
Mm-hmm.
was really doing all that. And when I say like Wise Ramel knew 52, King, he taught me Silam Tao from Wing Chun. That's when Infinite Mind became the Light Eagle. That's really what happened there. Like
Mm,
me getting the Iron Butterfly name was back then.
hmm hmm
Today it was like the gods was just looking at the way I move, and they were like, "Yo, he's the Iron Butterfly," and that's
That's
where that came from. You
yeah,
know?
that's so dope though. That's dope. That's dope.
Yeah, that's where that came from. And when you get names like that, it inspires you because like, yo, I gotta represent. Though I can't be like
Yeah.
just doing it bad if I got names like
Right.
that. So they calling me that. So you know, that Sun Shower was the first song that I was like, yo, that's the one that I want on the album. But the first song that was completed was the intro. And that was the song that he gave to me, a beat that he put me on. He had the verses already on it. The
Mhm.
kick verse was on it. And he gave me that and said, throw something on that. And I threw, and I thought it was the perfect intro because I was like, peace, the salutations, raising expectations. Because I figured people hear the album, they're like, yo, expectations have been raised. I rhymed a little something on the other ones.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
So, and then King told me to come back and do a second verse. You know what I mean? And you know what's funny? Like the fun fact, like it's on that verse. Let me see if I pull it up on the book because I put the verses in the book and how I did it, like just the verses. But when I said "devil's appetizing job," that I'm rhyming in the fragments like that,
Hmm
and that was actually from a poem I wrote where I was doing kind of a joke on, I don't know if it was a church lady or something that was like, got greens,
Yeah,
greens.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I was
yeah.
doing that. Like, man, I got blogs, this, that.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that shows what I was doing there. Yeah, and it was crazy.
Yeah, yeah. That's Shirley Caesar.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah. I was like, yo, I'm gonna do that. I told you a lot of soul music to get me. I was like, yo, I'm gonna do that flow when I do it. Because it was all poems. Like all the poems I read have a flow to it, you know?
Well,
They always flow
even your
great.
journalistic articles have a flow to it, God. Like,
Yeah.
um,
But it's so whack to read an article that is boring and says
yeah,
what you know already.
yeah.
Like it's
We,
something I argue. Like there's a sister that she has knowledge of stuff, and she argues that we journalists are supposed to be in hip hop is supposed to be impartial. I'm like, nah, I was never. My guideline is Amiri Baraka though. Like
right,
we're
right.
in the culture. We're inside of it. That's why we understand it. We work to be impartial when we judge the music, but we tell the people our impartial value system.
Mm.
So if you like whack shit, I already told you what I like. So if I said it was whack and you like whack shit, there you
Then
go. You got
there
the
you
shit.
go. There you God, like so with this book and album, all right. So like lately I have been taking like I said, a deep dive into philosophy and not just and I'm like you, I had read Art of War and Book of Five Rings a lot like back in the days. Um and you can go back and read them and always kind of catch something new in those, right? And I've always been a fan of martial arts culture and and but there's this like synergy, it feels like, that you are able to show with your music and book of you know martial arts, combat, philosophy, 5% teachings, right? I know it sounds like, and I'm not talking about the way like Wu-Tang, with the Shaw Brothers clips in the like, no, we're talking about real martial arts concepts. We're
Right,
talking about,
right.
you know, um, and so it definitely inspires me to get back on my martial arts journey. I had um, I had only a couple years right before the pandemic of Jeet Kune Do in Dallas,
Yes.
and then, but after the when the pandemic hit, it was everything kind of shut down and things like that. But this book has definitely kind of inspired me to
Right.
get back on that, because I know, for one, I don't think I've ever felt better mentally, right? When from when I was training, because the difference between just regular weight training and exercise or calisthenics is like even the idea of sparring, right?
Right.
I had never experienced that form of meditation, that intense form of meditation, than when it was time to spar. Because
Right.
the only thing you're concentrating on is not getting hit and dishing out and you know what I
Right.
mean? That's the but that's
Yeah.
there's the outside world doesn't exist like unless you're using something for you know what I mean? But like
Yeah. Yeah.
and so but I think that's one of the reasons why I really appreciate the book and the music because even and as a 5%er and somebody who also loves philosophy, whether it's from original people and I even dig European philosophy to an extent. You know what I mean? Like you might catch me quoting Plato or something every now and then. You know what I mean? But um, this book kind of really resonates, book and album resonates with me just for those reasons, man. And
Right.
if you
Right.
can go like just to explain some of that, man, because like the gods of earth, man, like we into everything, you know what I mean, and we don't and we don't. When I mean into everything, there's not an avenue of of education that you won't see certain gods
Yeah.
and earths not go down. You know what I mean, and be able to
Right.
express it from our point of view. So if you can just build on that, some.
Since the beginning, I started teaching, and it's almost like I immediately started training. So they intertwine together naturally.
Yeah.
And as they intertwine, the ancient texts that I'm reading, I started to realize that if this truth, we're basically saying man is God and there's no mystery God.
Hmm.
So whether you that man or not that man, there is no mystery God.
Hmm.
Us doing everything.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I constantly would see that in the ancient texts that I would see. You know what I mean? In different ways, written in different styles, from translation to translation, from the lack of the bad quality ones to the really great quality ones. And so my style of teaching has always injected all those things. The jewels that you see in Sufism, the many Sufic orders,
Absolutely.
Zen orders, the Maya, the Mayan sects, whatever sect of Buddhism you're talking about, Chan Buddhism, of course. So I was always seeing it, and I was always trying to show the student that what we're teaching here isn't something new.
Hmm.
It's a truth that we're articulating very basically, which is one difference.
Yeah.
Very basically, and towards the most youngest, which is never really done in history on a bulk level,
Hmm.
right? On a massive scale, as the way we are. So when I wrote the book, a lot of the real fight in the book isn't just an enemy that's trying to hit me. It's the enemy that's trying to lie to me.
Hmm.
It's the enemy that has confused whatever would-be student I might approach.
Hmm.
I'm saying the
Hmm.
enemy that keeps us blind, deaf, and dumb to ourselves and stuff. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Inform me in the way that I was doing the book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was so it was when you look at the songs, you see the fragments of all of those things. So like Teacher of Pox though is the fight that I have with all of these different types of students.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I said Teacher of Pox because they're all rebellious or revolutionary on so many scales, just like Tupac's life. He had so many different levels,
Yeah.
kind of students on all those levels. You know what I mean? And then other songs like The Inscription, it's almost like I was trying to show like how when you teach though, it's also a war to destroy the ignorance that's in a person.
Yeah.
And it could be violent, or it could be peaceful. It's very difficult.
Hmm.
You- And
The battlefield is everywhere.
yeah, so these are the things that I really tried to express when I was writing the book. And then also like other things in martial arts, like I always try to write with a beauty, and other movies were already ingrained in me, not just kung fu movies, martial arts movies that had the basic fighting,
Hmm.
but like for example, Jet Li's Hero,
Hmm.
which I think is one of the most beautiful movies,
Peace. Hmm.
beautiful movies to show the beauty of kung fu. That inspired me a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Um, to write something that is about kung fu, but not get people to say punch like this, move like this, but to really see the beauty how it helps you internally, how it changes your mentality to a warrior. And
Hmm.
that was the main goal. You know what I mean? That
Hmm.
was the main goal when I was writing. And each chapter I just focused on each of them. You know what I mean? So like if I was on battlefronts, then I was thinking about mentality battlefronts,
Hmm.
not just physical battlefronts.
Hmm.
You know, if it was on the use of spies, mental warfare directly, you
Right.
know, and all of these things took place, and a lot of it was to show like how when we're learning um how the warrior is going to be someone unique that has never been engaged before.
Hmm.
Every person that I've ever taught has done something different in the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you go, Sunnis taught a lot of 5%ers. Nah, if you're really a teacher, most of the people you teach don't become 5%ers.
Right.
You know what I
Absolutely.
mean?
Hmm.
And because I teach at the school, as far as numbers, I get the most because that's
Hmm.
where you're going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And most of them I'm just teaching to be fighters in different levels.
Hmm.
So that's why the mentality is like that, you know? That's why I wrote, and if, to do all the things I've done, I've always had to fight. I couldn't just be, hey, I got good writing in here. Put me in this magazine.
Yeah. You had to
Oh,
fight to get that.
everything was elbow
Hmm.
my way,
Yeah.
everything. So even to get this knowledge though, certain brothers that I had to deal with people's colorism that other people don't have to deal with. All you have to do is look at a law school in Mecca's channel and look what people say to me. They never say to anybody else.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That
So,
shit's whack. I hate that shit.
yeah.
But
So
yeah.
I have to deal with all of that. So when I wrote when I wrote the Kobe, that was the mentality I had.
Hmm.
Describe a physical battlefield,
Mm.
but also a mental battlefield. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
That one was definitely the first verse is definitely physical. You know, I'm hitting them with the Wing Chun right in
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But that's where that phrase, that's what I said, Kobe, keep on building everywhere, because that was kind of like Kobe's thing. He was successful in every pursuit.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
we're as 5%, it's like, yo, we're taught to be successful in all our endeavors. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
He was. So all the songs reflect that. But when I wrote the book, it was just a different way of saying it. So sometimes I would keep it simple. I said, listen, what did Master Son say? Let me just try to explain it the way I would speak it to someone.
Hmm.
And I would try to beautify it.
Hmm.
And it was just a simple strategy like that. And it just came out like that. You know what I mean?
No, but I think it's powerful. I think that's one of the parts that will make the people resonate with it that read it, because it can be like reading The Art of War for some people can be like reading the Bible, meaning I don't know what they're talking about
Yeah.
because of the language. Obviously, it's written in certain contexts might not be understood by the person reading it for the first time, and so the way you're able to build on that, I think, is dope. And like you said, I think I have a couple versions of different translations as well, and I don't. There's not one that can compare to my life the way
Right.
this one does.
Yeah. Yeah. That's peace, God. That's peace. And that was the whole thing. I never even thought that people would. I think I could release the book now because it's my ninth book, right?
Hmm.
I could release it now because people that buy my books, they're more comfortable with the reality that I don't write a straight read.
Yeah, yeah,
I write very
yeah,
concentrated, and you have to
yeah.
go back and see the you got to look at the painting. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like you gotta look at it
right.
for real good.
Right, right.
And so now that they're more in tune and stuff, then they could see it though. Because even when I rhyme, nobody's saying what I say. You know
Oh,
what I
not
mean?
at all.
Nobody's saying what I say, and the layering is a lot different than most people. You know what I mean?
And also, God, like with your lyrics, as somebody who's a fan of your written work, like I appreciate the one thing that I appreciate about the music is your approach to writing didn't start from writing rhymes.
Right. Yeah.
Your approach to writing was always from like a, like you said, it's culture in your written word. It's
Right.
funk in your written words. It's rhythm in your written words. And
Yeah.
to be able to approach now the music that way, I think helps to make that music layered,
Yeah.
right?
You know, when I first started writing, people are drawn to it because, like years ago in the
Hmm.
90s, people were drawn to it because I said just straight out, I was very confrontational, authoritative to
Hmm.
what real hip hop was. And
Hmm.
people like that, you know? And, but as I went over, I wanted to be respected for creativity in it as well.
Absolutely.
That's really what drew that. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
let me say it as let let me say it as fly as possible. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? And other writers were doing that, like Bones Malone and everything like that. But they weren't doing it on the technical pieces. So most of a hip hop magazine you wouldn't see written that way.
Hmm.
I was like, yo, we should be writing our pieces that way. You know what I
Mm.
mean? And that's where the art and science on music came from. You know what I mean?
No, so
Give
dope.
it the details. And really look, as I always tell, I'm informed by jazz writers, not really other hip hop writers. You
Right,
know,
right.
like the details of a Chet Jiwa,
Mm.
give the
Hmm.
detail to the music. Or Baraka had massive detail, but he also was creative.
Hmm.
You know,
Facts.
his
Hmm.
always felt like a conversation to you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, this is what I was always going for. You know what I mean? And the Zen of Us was really like really doing that on a more amplified stage because it was all these things. Like on the back cover, I have all the people that mainly influence the major influences. I have my Seagung, Bobby Whitaker, who taught me Kung Fu, my Enlightened Knowledge Me, Savior Knowledge, who taught me really pedagogy in the school.
Hmm.
I got Day's son who brought me to the school. I got my professor, mentor that I still talk to today, David Traverso. And then I got Rakim Supreme Shabazz, who's Rudy Lowe, the original Rudy Lowe, who gave me my L's. Papa Wu, of course, you know what
Hmm.
I mean? And
Hmm.
then I have Thurston Howell III, who named me Skillustrator Low.
Right.
So all those three worlds combined, and
Yeah.
when I told Bobito Ross, to make the cover, I was like, yo, combine all these worlds somehow. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
that's that cover. And
yeah,
another thing, that cover is so fire, man. Shout
yeah,
out to Bobito because
yeah.
that covers hard.
And that's a real move. Like that's me really training. Like
Yeah.
the fact that the cover is just a dummy and me training, like that's really my life. That's where I meditated. That's where I learned most of the stuff I've written are sparked by moving because I
Mm,
wrote this book. I'll never not be sparked by movement.
mm. Well,
I move.
that kind of makes so. There's a question I want to ask you, like, because I just kind of thought of it just now. Uh, we talked about b-boying earlier, right?
Mm.
And we talked about martial arts. And when it comes to movement, and do you see any similarities between b-boying and martial arts?
I do absolutely, and not because they were just imitating moves
Hmm.
or adapting. When I say I was a b-boy as a kid, it wasn't because I was good enough to be in a crew. It was because we lived a culture and we resolved fights that way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So there's
yeah.
a lot of fights though where I remember b-boying someone that I wanted to fight.
Mm.
And so my moves were an aggression of what I would do to him.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
better not, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So that's where the moves are.
That's
The
crazy.
moves are
Hmm.
reproduction or really like a transmuting
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
anger and aggression I had toward that individual. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
People say stuff about b-boying that it got people off the streets and this and that, but they don't understand how true those words are. Like how many fights I didn't fight because I said, yo, man, let's take it to the floor. Like,
hmm,
and we do it like that. It really was like that. And there's a lot of people I didn't have to physically fight because we did that. So yeah, I definitely see the parallels all the time. All the
yeah.
time. You know?
As you kind of a lot of things happening in hip hop, and what's passed off as hip hop journalism these days is just somebody getting drunk on a microphone, giving their take. And as for somebody, for somebody who has, put the time and the years into it and studied the ones that came before you that were dope, built with the ones who are, considered dope in the game. Like I saw like a list probably like a couple months ago. I think I had sent it to you actually, but it was like just top five hip hop journalists of 2024 or something. And
Yeah.
you look at those names and you're like, man, like,
Yeah.
nah, this is
You know,
corny.
I never,
Yeah.
never argue about it because
Yeah.
as a writer, I knew that some of those guys could really write. Um,
Okay.
there's a lot of them like they could really write, but they just didn't do what I was doing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, and in the 90s, when I started in 94, they didn't let me write that way.
Hmm.
So new style I was trying to put into it, they didn't let me.
Hmm.
You know? So like the poems and the clever prose that start off reviews, those things would get clipped off.
Hmm.
Like, I always tell people like, yo, my double XL Capital Punishment review had a whole frosting that was on it that got
And they took
taken
it
off.
off.
You know what I mean?
Damn.
And so I looked very rote, you
Yeah.
know, sounds like everybody else in the magazine. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Hmm.
I used to hate that, that you can't see like my style though,
Yeah.
review.
So do you think in journalism, like, for people who, don't haven't gone to school for journalism or haven't studied the art of journalism, um, in essence, when somebody reads an article from Sunez, should they be able to be like, yo, that's Sunez? Because I could tell by how, even if you didn't sign your name on it, right? Like
Yeah.
whenever we're looking at journalists though, like, is it imperative for a good journalist to have his own style where like you can kind of begin to pick up, hey,
Yeah.
this is these are the characteristics of this guy over here. So it sounds like, and if it's not him, that you might be
Right,
biting.
right.
You
Yeah,
know what I
I'll tell you
mean?
this though. I didn't get a degree in journalism.
Mm-hmm.
My professional degree, my professionalism in journalism is badged on me because my stuff ended up being in scholarly works.
Mm,
It ended up being quoted. It ended up being used in setting a standard of how to do it. And if people read my stuff without my name on it and couldn't identify me, that would I would cry. It would
yeah,
be
yeah, yeah, yeah,
very much.
yeah,
You know what I mean? I
yeah,
need to know people to know that, and just like if somebody bit me, I'll be like, oh, they're trying to write like Sunez, you know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so I know I developed a style that doesn't exist, you know what I mean? That
Hmm.
doesn't exist in hip hop journalism. And I think it's important because I think all journalism of creative works has a leeway, especially for the oppressed people.
Hmm.
Our oppressed works, though, deserve an embedded journalist that understands the criteria as a life reality and then also can show it to you with such style that you understand how to separate his opinions from the facts that he's giving, and you can make your own informed decisions of how you want to go.
Hmm.
It doesn't exist enough.
Yeah,
It doesn't exist enough, so it doesn't go. But I'm never one with the impartial because it's not true.
yeah,
You can't
yeah,
be
yeah.
impartial.
I'm glad you said that because does, like, being impartial, does that mean, like, like, to leave all of your convictions, ideas that you came with behind, that the thing that makes you you, the thing that puts you in the position that you're in to do this in the first place?
There's dope MCs that I've written reviews that they wouldn't like though,
Yeah,
because I said like, yo, his content is just pimp rap.
yeah.
There's a lower level because it's like in the Olympics, so you did lesser degree of difficulty on your joints. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. I like
Right? Lesser degree of difficulty. So
that.
he was on the
Yeah, yeah,
balance beam and you couldn't even jump. You
yeah,
just walked on the balance beam.
yeah.
Right? If
Word.
you just do pimp raps, you just walk
Yeah,
on the balance beam.
yeah. Word, word,
Right?
word.
Just hanging on the ring.
Swinging back and forth on them motherfuckers, right? Like,
Yeah, you know, you just let go and jump
yeah,
down.
yeah.
So it's like when
I like that
when that
though.
happens though, like I do want people to know my biases
Hmm.
as a framework and a lenses
Hmm.
and say, listen, this is what I'm looking for, not looking for.
Hmm.
Because when I write like that way, I will write about the quality of things and then also say why I don't think it's good. So
Hmm.
the real thing is what I always say, you got to give them the earth, wind, and fire.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I give them the
yeah,
reasons, right? The reasons.
yeah.
You
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw you. Yeah, I saw you. You was building
know?
it a little bit on the Law School Mecca channel
Yeah, yeah.
too.
In
Uh,
fact, that's one of the chapters that I named one of the chapters the reasons. And if you
hmm.
You don't know. That's really what it was
What you that was the
a Earth,
thought
Wind,
process?
Fire, you know?
Yeah, dope, dope,
Why are we
dope.
doing this? Why are we
Yeah.
doing this? You know the reasons, you know?
Yeah, that's
My
fire.
favorite ballads all time.
Oh
So I
yeah, it's one of the best of all time.
sing that all the time. So
What, no, I just wanted to ask you, like, whenever you set out to, obviously, whenever you write your articles, there's an intention behind what you're doing. As far as the book and the album, for the people that haven't read it, who are about to buy it, for the people who haven't listened to the album, who are about to buy it, like, what was the intent?
the intent was really to show the art of war in a creative way in an urban setting.
Mm,
Black, brown, all of that. And because I'm from a 5% background, because everything, Boricua, everything, militant background, oppressed background, this is the background that you would relate to. Someone that's oppressed, that's dealing with outside forces. So they're already in a battlefield. So no matter how much you try to, say we just vote for the right president, it'll be all right. No, there's a battlefield.
yeah.
I'm saying there's all a battlefield in some way, and it's how you deal with it. Because look, I learned Chinese kung fu, so it's a little different in the breathing than let's say Japanese kung fu, where like everything would be like "Fuck,"
Mm,
and anguish on the heart. We're
mm,
supposed to live in such a way where we see all enemies and everything stays even.
mm,
So it's about the longevity. So I
mm,
want us to accept, like, yo, this all is out here, but we
mm,
have so many tools of
mm.
vigor
Yeah,
to go against it. You
yeah,
know, the
yeah.
pen and the sword, because these have been my weapons, the pen and the sword.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And metaphorically, I really do know how to use a sword.
Yeah, yeah. I seen you. I seen you.
But metaphorically, my pen, my words, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
So all of that is in there, you know what I mean?
yeah.
That's really what I tried to get across and really just beautify it though. Because like I said, that one of the things I have a lot of slang, so like when people even listen to the album, there's slang that I made up, like remembered imperfection, never respect fake.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And when I say stuff like that, like I say concentrated supremacy, it's because of the way that I write.
Mm,
I try to I really was so influenced by like there's a lot of Wu influence if you hear me rhyme.
hmm.
Clip did the ode to RZA, you know what I mean? In fact, in the sun shower, that's my voice trying to do my RZA impression. You know?
Fire. I didn't catch that.
Yeah, yeah. It's just that it's hard to do for like
Yeah,
4 minutes. So
yeah,
I like,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
but skill straight or cold like the rhythms cut right, like
Yeah.
bam. Or
Right.
like go you hear the bells. There was a free
Mm,
12-inch single CD that was in a Stress magazine.
hmm.
Bobby Digital's stereo album in '98 was being promoted, and it had a 10-minute cut called "The Bells."
Wow. I don't think I ever heard it.
RZA just freestyled for 10 minutes, and with
Wow.
that reference, do you hear the bells? The bells, because it's also from I forgot. It's a great soul song, "The Bells." You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, and so there's a whole bunch of references to it though, and when I go like the choppiness that RZA has, I try to rhyme like that, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? Or like in Sun Shower, he said in your deltoid, pectoids, and deltoids. I extend the way he goes deltoids, pectoids,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah,
I'm doing there.
yeah.
But as far as writing throughout, Jizza was always the one that influenced me.
Mm.
And he wrote everything saying so much with so few words.
Hmm.
8-bar verse
Hmm.
as amazing as like the 16 that Ghost or Ray might have.
Yep.
And I was like, yo, concentrated supremacy.
Mm.
I started saying that as a
Hmm.
joke to Rim,
Hmm.
Rim the villain.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
We're both shorter stature, you know
Yeah,
what
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
mean? So
yeah.
he was telling this chick, like, yo, man, we got something here. And I was like, yeah, we concentrated supremacy, baby. That's why I came up with the term. So I was like, yo, that fits the way I write too. So it has
Yeah.
a double meaning to it,
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, yeah. Peace to the God Rim, though, you know what I
Yo,
mean?
yo, peace to the
And
God.
that's what we came up with. That's why I came up with that, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
But that's where I started that here. Like I
Hmm.
remember when I was at the source in 2005, Day Son, no, he's a character. And he was
Hmm.
at the shift and I wrote something.
Hmm.
Wrote something. And I was news editor, so I wrote something and I thought it was some fly shit. And I'll tell you what it was, right?
Hmm.
um, it's not just the way I wrote it, but I wrote like a little column
Hmm.
because they wanted us to diss G Unit. It was a GU not.
Oh shit. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
I wrote that. I think
yeah.
is Lloyd Banks though, but I
Mhm,
wrote that 50
mhm.
Cent copying from the thief, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
And thief 50 Cent that he would rob stores off the same block in the same day.
Yeah.
Um, Tony Ayo, that's just what Scarface references, the
Hmm.
code in the character. Who's the other guy? Young Buck.
But
That's slave. That's a slave. Young Buck is
mm,
a slave name. You know what I
hmm.
mean? That's what they call the slave that they're looking for. If that's worthy of being enslaved.
Right.
And then the last one was Lloyd Banks.
Mm.
But the first British bank to fund the slave trade was Lloyd's Bank.
Oh wow.
So it
So
was that.
yo, yeah,
Yeah,
yo,
that shit did come
funny.
out, but yo, I give you up. Hollywood have had trouble with them.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yo, they actually assigned it though. But
yeah.
when they gave it back to me, like, yo, this is too esoteric. The way you wrote this, you can't write like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot of my writing was so heavy by the time I was doing it that it wouldn't get published, and they
Mhm.
just nixed the whole thing. But I'm telling you, if it's if it's on paper, people don't want to mess with me. I'm like Karis one. I got shit for days off people.
Oh, I
Like,
already know. I already
yeah,
know. And it's crazy that they couldn't see the vision because it feels like that's what people love these days. You know what I'm saying? They love this to see the esoteric um ideas of certain concepts, regardless to
oh,
what the
if
subject
they had
is.
published that article,
Mhm.
that would have been a sexy meme today.
Yeah,
I had my own sexy meme of how I exposed G Unit.
Jewish.
But right?
Yeah, yeah.
But when I wrote the Zen of Us though, it was I'm gonna tell you this, like the vibe, the soul, the heart though, is that in a few years of me starting to teach, I start teaching at 24, and I have students that succeed and go to
Hmm.
jail. I have
Hmm.
students that die, and
Hmm.
it was very overwhelming. People didn't really understand how many students I'm getting. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? And it was very overwhelming. So when people read, like, I make the idea of being a teacher, teaching that last word as the most epic thing ever, because to me it is. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like, people don't really know, like a lot of us 5% know, but like, and teachers in general, they know what it feels like to see somebody come like 5, 10, 15 years later and say, yo, that thing that you told me changed my whole life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And people have said that to me, and I'm like, man, I saw you one time. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
I saw you one time. You used my class one time, you know? So I kind of wrote like that with like, yo, everything counts. When I was taught to teach at a law school, it's different than teaching in the street. They taught me that I can't make mistakes though, like be vile and be
Hmm.
corruptible. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? And everything I say could end up representing the whole school if I teach something that's not right and exact.
Yeah.
And that shit meant a lot to me, God. It meant
Yeah.
everything to me. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And so when I expressed that in the Zen of Us, though, it really came out like that. And when you fight, we're learning to fight like to defend our family. The Shaolin way of fighting, though, is a circular way of fighting.
Hmm.
You realize that even the punch goes circular because when I move it,
Hmm.
it's long oval.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So these are
Yeah.
long ovals. So we see everything in circles, and we're guarding, we're protecting children. Everything is a circle. So everything was coinciding with like, yo, I'm learning everything to protect my family and launch them forward in some kind of way. And I've tried to put all that passion in there. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like it's the last thing. Like, like Tupac, this would be the realest thing I ever wrote. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really was writing in that mentality and I wrote this, the majority of these books written when I'm 29 years old.
Mm.
It's
Mm.
29, you know? And so it has that, it has
Hmm.
that. Learn how to put the poetics and mix it so it gets use, people could use it and
Hmm.
mix it. But this is just concentrated. Like this is all the
Yeah.
way
But it's
concentrated everything. You know what I mean?
yeah. No,
Uh,
but I love it, man. And again, I always appreciate, your contributions to the culture overall, right? The over of original people. It's extremely important. Um, for is there before we go, is there any last words you want to build with the people and let them know?
Yeah, man. Saying this to add magnum opus or anything like that, I'll say this though, that the book and the album is really a complete art piece with understanding in it.
Mm-hmm.
It was written like an art piece. Is for you. I had written it though in the vein of what I used to carry then because we couldn't have digital books. Was the little Shambhala pocket books
Mm-hmm.
of all the ancient texts, Art of War,
Mm,
Art of Peace, which is really influential in my life. You know what I mean? I have pocket books of all of them.
mm-hmm.
I would every day I would have something in the pocket, and
Mm,
I wrote the book where it really wouldn't be in this framework. It would
mm-hmm.
be in a pocketbook where you would keep it in you.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Like, yo, this is what it is. You know what I mean? This is how the mentality to inspire you, to ignite you, all of those things. And when I made the album, it's a blessing that King helped me express myself in that forum.
Yeah,
There were
yeah.
songs in there like the inscription,
Mm-hmm.
because people act like harmony equality. She asked for inscription too, and I was like, damn, it's hard to do two, man. I don't be
Yeah.
like Raekwon, spend years to do a great Cuban link two.
Right.
And that that song, King made me do that song over and over again.
Mm,
It just wasn't right in the pockets.
mm-hmm.
And I had to do that again and again, like a lot of times, God.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then he would give me these voice messages because, see, God, like, hold up, God.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
That,
yeah,
like,
yeah, 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 yeah. I already know how
like,
King
yeah, yeah.
fall.
See,
Yeah.
God, the thing is, like, he said the thing is, it's all good. Yeah. But MCing is such a harder thing, and like I've come to grow, like, because I say such heavier things, I obviously favor a slower, more intense tempo. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I think that's what I think that's what I really like about the album. Is because I like that tempo. I like the way you're able to get your ideas and thoughts out to that tempo.
Yeah, yeah,
Because it's it that tempo gives you, I think that tempo can evoke emotion, evoke a seriousness, evoke a thoughtfulness. You know what I'm saying?
right, right. And when I separated the tempos too, that's why you see Kobe in between Inscription and Zen of Us.
Hmm.
That's why you see Teacher of Pax after Sun Shower. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because those are the more driving tracks where I really go off.
Yeah,
Um, but the others, though, the poetry is more layered.
yeah.
Inscription, the first verse is very layered if you're really listening. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like, and it even applicable to right now, even though I wrote this a long time ago. Like, dude, because when I was saying things like what was it? Is it re-elect the millionaire or play the record of that billionaire? That's
Right.
people's back to it. They either go for Trump, play the new Jay song. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
no activism. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it also has like a song that reflects obviously the title track is what reflects most of the soul and the passion that I've taken into the teaching. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
I said it in the first verse. I said a healing Christianity. You know what I mean? Feeding unwanted philosophies. Because when you teach this, a lot of times you're sharing things that people don't really want, though.
Yeah.
And then in Christianity's life, he was very ascetic.
Hmm.
He didn't do a lot of other things, and he was very stringent. He wouldn't have medications, things like that. And he was, and that's been a lot of my life. You know what I'm saying? A
Yeah.
lot of people that know me, they're like, yo, Sunez, you like a monk, though. Like, you like,
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
yo, this is just the way I ended up being. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? The way I
Hmm.
ended up being. And it is what it is. But man, I put everything into this thing, man. Everything.
Nah, and we appreciate it, God. Like,
And the first essay,
mhm.
the first essay that, because people saying it's concentrated, the first essay is like Biang Zing. That's supposed to explain what the Kung Fu is about that I know.
Hmm.
More easy to get. The prelude to the Zen of Us, that was me putting a lot of martial concepts on one of the EPs that Brownsville Ka made.
Mm.
It's one
Hmm.
of my favorite EPs. So I thought that shows the hip hop element
Yeah, yeah.
that I write. And then it has the aphorisms to my commentaries to the entire Art of War. But
And Brownsville Kai is one of my favorites too, man. He's super
of
ill.
course,
Mhm.
and one of the first songs I did too was the Iron Butterfly and the Light Eagle with Infinite
Mhm.
Mind. That was one of
Mhm.
the first ones. That's why I'm not rapping on it.
Okay, okay, okay.
But that one has the most heavy stuff about Kung Fu in it.
Hmm.
And that one, I wasn't rapping because I did the voice of like an old kung fu master in the movies.
Hmm.
It's hard to rap in that voice,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
you know?
The
Yeah.
Shaw Brothers
Yeah,
Wise
yeah.
Master. Yeah,
You
yeah,
did it like
yeah.
that. Well now. And
Yeah.
they always say, well now.
Yeah.
I do that a lot though. You
Facts,
know?
facts,
So
facts.
I did it a lot in there. And for me, I look at that song like in Liquid Swords Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know who Infinite Mind was. Now you know who he
Now
is.
you know who he
He's
is,
a
right?
guy of God, you know?
Yeah,
And we really do this kung fu.
right.
Like
Right.
we
It's not
really
that's what I was trying to get the point earlier is that it's not just
yeah.
you're using these philosophies and
I
ideas.
was like, yo,
No, no,
Skip,
like
I
this is
need you
real.
to rhyme between these verses
Hmm.
as a student. And Infinite Mind, he's one of the gods that learned with us. I brought him to our Sigung, but he went to China to learn. And when he came back,
Mm.
the relation was like, yo, God, we really did learn the real thing.
Wow.
And that's why, like, that was big for us. You know,
Yeah,
that was big for
yeah.
us. And
Yeah.
he
No, that's
really
dope.
learned it. He learned in Wu Dang Mountain after
Wow.
we learned together. So he learned, he knows, he showed us that, yo, we were taught the real thing.
Wow.
Um, like MCs like Infinite Mind, MCs like me, like, bro, we really do the things we say, like on an MC level. How many MCs like they talk about the community, but they're really teachers in it. They talk about martial arts as I'll kill you with the roundhouse, but they don't
Mhm.
really can't even do a roundhouse. They
Yeah.
can't do it in a fight. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
you know, so,
yeah.
like I really lived the shit that I wrote. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
it is that shit. Like I lived everything that was in it though. Like the sun shower song, that's all real.
Yeah, yeah,
All that happened. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So, you know,
Nah, nah, so dope, God. Let everybody know it's going to the links are definitely going to be in the description, but
yeah.
let everybody know just in case they might be driving or something
I'll tell
and
you something like
mhm,
the album and the book can be bought at Sunez, SUNEZ.bandcamp.com.
mhm.
And if you buy the book, I email you the album for free. I give it to you for free. You know what I mean? Because the album's already on streaming platforms. But if you buy the book from me, I give you the digital copy of the album. You know what I mean? And it's on the album is on all the streaming platforms. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So anybody could read it.
So I,
The,
I suggest everybody to buy the book because if you just listen to the album,
yeah,
you're only getting one part of it. I feel like you mentioned earlier, it's an art piece,
yeah.
and they both are part of that
Absolutely. And
art
you'll
piece.
see certain lines you'll see in the book, and you're like, oh, you know,
Right,
like,
right, right.
because I used it to inspire me. Like I used
Mhm,
a lot of my old writings that I collected in the Art and Art, the poetry book
mhm.
that I extracted from my pieces. I that was a fuel for the first three albums.
Mm,
Um, I use this as a fuel, because I got
yeah,
books, man, that
yeah.
I've written that people haven't seen, like, so I use that as fuel, like to get the good lines, the sharp lines, all of that. But if you buy the book, I give you the album for free. You know what I mean?
So dope.
Word.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, God, it's always an honor and a pleasure to build with you, my brother, my friend, somebody who's done so much in the culture that we love. Peace to the God, man. I appreciate you for coming through.
Indeed. Peace to the God.
Peace, God.